Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. If you want to know what it's like to be a full-time painter in Paris, this episode's for you. Today I speak with Rebekah MacKay. She's traveled all across the United States and landed in Paris, where she has her own studio, and we learn all about her fascinating artwork. So welcome to the show, Rebekah.
Thanks for having me, Crystal.
I know we have some friends in common, and I was recommended to you, and I'm just so happy to share your story today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So you grew up in Massachusetts, but now you live in Paris. Talk a little bit about what brought you here.
So I did grow up in Massachusetts, but I feel like whenever I'm asked this question of where are you from, I'm like, New England. I don't know. I'm in the US. So yeah, I ended up in Paris by way of my career in New York, I would say mostly. And then I had a stint on the West Coast in San Francisco and Seattle. And the last place I lived was San Francisco. And I'd always wanted to move to France, but I didn't think it was like honestly possible without marrying someone or having citizenship through like your great grandparents. And once I kind of started taking those steps to understand how you can move to another country, specifically France, because it's always been a dream of mine, I realized I could do it on my own and through my artwork. And so once I kind of figured that out, I was here within 2 weeks of that approval process. I like packed my bags, got my dog, and I was out.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you didn't even have to marry anybody.
I know.
Yay. Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about France. They're so supportive of the arts and creating a space for artists. I mean, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, everyone, when they think of France, they're like, it's so creative and artistic, and Paris is that romantic dream of, you know, paint me like one of your French girls. And it still has that. But what I didn't realize was how much France does support artists. I mean, don't get me wrong, monetarily, France is not supporting me. But what they do encourage is you to actually do your craft, and they encourage other foreigners to come in. So I'm on something called an artist talent visa. And you prove that you have relationships in France with galleries, collectors. Some of my art practice involves collecting pigments from the south of France. So like I physically have to be in this country. And, you know, I think sometimes that cannot be great for someone. So I feel very privileged, but like I get to have to be here. And France supports that by saying, okay, you're an artist. You can only make your work here. And then I got granted a 2-year visa to begin with. And funny that you're asking me this, because I just went through the renewal process, which took probably 40 hours for me to collect everything, translate it, and submit. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it is not a lot of countries like say, oh, you're a talented artist. We want you here. And France makes that possible. So
yeah, it's great. And like you said, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, so much paperwork, so much stress of, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? But you just have to hold on.
Yeah, well, even looking at my application from 2 years ago, so it was the 2024 application, I was like, how did they let me in? Like, I didn't have a huge portfolio in France. I had a few connections, but, you know, quality, not quantity. And now when I resubmitted, what has been neat to see in living in France for 2 years and working was how many connections I made and how many letters of support I had. I went from like 3 letters of support to 20 this time.
That's incredible. 2 years, you did a lot.
Oh, girl was busy.
And was there like a defining moment when you realized you were an artist? I mean, you studied both fine art and photography, but was there a time in your life where you're like, I'm an artist?
Yes. I realized I wanted to be an artist since I was 5. In fact, I have video footage of it. Every year in school, our music teacher would record us in the beginning of the year and say, "What's your name, age, and what do you want to be when you grow up? And what are you most excited about this year?" So I have, and God bless him, because it's like, of course, that was in the arts, and like it's something to like celebrate and look back on. But I'd say I had an R problem, by the way. So I was like, my name's Rebekah and I want to be an artist.
Oh,
When I was
that's so
like
cute.
5. And then it became an actress, and then it became a violin painter, and then it became an artist again. So I think I knew from like a young age that I wanted to be that. And thankfully, when you're young, you don't stress about money in that aspect. Like,
Yeah. You're like, I can be anything. I don't have to
I
think
can
about
be anything
money.
I want.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, from a young age. And then I'd say, once you start applying for university in the United States, like you kind of have to pick your major. And like it was a no-brainer. Like I was going for fine art. I was going to go for painting. It was like, should I go to an all art school, or do I want to have a little, for lack of a better term, a more well-rounded education? And so I chose to go to Syracuse, A, because they had an amazing art program, and B, I could study a little bit of marketing, business, and communications. And I got to run on a cross country and track team. And I could not afford that school. So I had to get scholarship through athletics, actually. And then I got to go to a very, very good art and communication school through that.
That's very cool, though. I mean, it's like we don't know where these journeys are going to take us. You have plan A, B, C, D, you figure it out as you go. The dominoes just kind of fall.
Yeah.
You lived in some great cities. I mean, like you said, you did New York, you were in California, you were working in Ralph Lauren and in advertising. So what made you decide to return full time to painting?
I love this question. I'm so happy I get to share this. So when I graduated with, and I ended up switching from painting to illustration because I freaked out after freshman year saying, well, painting's not going to make me money. So I need to go into illustration because at least I'm telling stories. And that's a tangible thing for me of like, I've seen books, like children's books, book covers. I know that there's money in that. So I started kind of like making this weird shift in my brain of, I guess, scarcity mindset, which is something I've worked on like my whole life since being very aware of that, especially as an artist, because you can't have that mindset. So I switched over to illustration, got a master's in photography, ended up in advertising at Ralph Lauren, and I had maybe one of the best first jobs you can ever have. They created it for me because I submitted my portfolio. I had one of my best friends working there at the time who I also went to art school with, and she also crossed the barrier of like fine art to where does this fit into the commercial world, without having to be like a starving artist? Because I mean, at age like 22, like there's no way I could have done what I'm doing now. Like it's still hard now with everything I know.
Yeah.
But I started there and they created this job. I was in creative services for Ralph Lauren Home. And when I submitted my portfolio, at first they were just looking for someone to like help with like buying props and bringing, I guess what happens in like the large showroom before it goes to public. I translated that showroom and then had to put it into 13 different stores, obviously with my amazing team. Shout out to my Ralph Lauren people. I had to learn how to like look at something, make it affordable, and place it into all these different lifestyles and rooms within the Ralph Lauren home store. So I got to work with designers, architects, like the head of creative services, and it kicked me in the butt in the best way possible of like leveling up my taste, what goes into creating an environment and telling a story through like interiors. And I'd always been interested in interior design. I almost went into it, but I was like, no, I hate math. And And it was a 5-year program. And I was like, I don't want to be in school that long. Funny enough, then I stayed an extra 2 years to get a master's. So this was the beginning of my art journey. So I was creating original pieces for Ralph Lauren Home of paintings, photography, fitting it into these lifestyles, negotiating with galleries for consignment, like starting to understand the art world, like very hands-on, very quick. And then I took over another role there, which was art acquisition. So I got even deeper into that. And I was like, this is amazing. And then, like, kind of slowly but surely, I was like, I feel like my creative soul is kind of being used up. Like at the end of the day, I didn't want to create my own work because I was just like exhausted. I'd leave everything on the table. And then it was like, all right, well, I want to go work out and get drinks. And then I wasn't really like creating my own body of work. I would do little illustrations and paint in my like shoebox size of a room. But I'll fast forward. Then I quit that job and I went over to advertising at Ralph Lauren and became a photo producer because why have a photography degree if you're not going to use it, right?
How fun though. I mean, what all these jobs are such great first jobs right out of school.
No, crazy. And then I stayed there for a while, learned so much. And then I jumped off my first ledge and started my own production company, which was called Hello Rue. And I didn't have to build a website for the first year. I was like hitting the ground running with all these creative production jobs, worked with some pretty big clients. And then I completely burnt myself out and started kind of reassessing what I was doing. And when I kind of woke up one day and like realized my clients are amazing, but like, is it my dream to do photo production for Walmart and Shopify and fashion brands? And I was like, it's cool, but I don't think this is really what I want to be doing. And I was like, to be honest, like unhappy. I loved being on set. I loved like being in that environment around art directors and whatnot. But like I needed like a minute. And so I reapplied for a full-time job at a startup in San Francisco, and I became an in-house art director, which gave me the opportunity to paint on the side. And this is, I skipped over my first actual artist atelier I got in Seattle when I still had my own production company. And that was my first step of being like, take your art seriously. What are you doing? And since then, continued like going down the pipeline of art direction and production, but then got an atelier or a painting workshop in San Francisco. And yada, yada, yada. Fast forward, I decided, okay, I kind of came to a crossroads in San Francisco where life can hit you pretty hard and you find yourself going through a breakup, leaving a job, and kind of like, well, what are we going to do? And I decided, why not go try going to an artist residency for a few months in France? Like, go. And that was really, really, honestly, the beginning of the real deal. So that was in 2023.
Wow, what a time to come after the pandemic, going through breakups, job changes. Like it was time to make the big leap into being a full-time artist.
Yeah, I don't know if like you feel this way, but it's like you can't ignore it anymore. Like
Yeah.
the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is like, how many times do I have to like slap you across the face?
Yeah, when are you gonna get it? You can do this. Just leap already.
Yeah. And it was still back to like, well, what if I don't make it? And what if I don't make money, and scarcity mindset, right? It's like human. Like,
Yeah,
I
because we
don't
have
have
to pay our bills at the end of the day.
yeah. And I wish I was a trust fund baby, but like I'm actually like very blessed that I have like not saying that that doesn't give you a good work ethic, but like paying the bills is real, and I don't have a huge cushion to land on. And so kind of like go big or go home.
Yeah, no, and it's so cool that you took that step and in a foreign country. I mean,
Mhm.
fantastic. So walk us through like a typical day in the studio.
No day is typical over here in Rebecca land. It's so I have a few things going on with my art. I have a fine art practice, which is my large scale abstract paintings. And I feel like I kind of come out with those in sprints almost. I'm an artist that really works off of like energy and timing. And I know some other artists like go to the atelier every day. They work 9 a.m. to 5. They have their lunch break. That is not me. I could maybe not go to the atelier for a week and then all of a sudden get like kind of like listening kind of more to the energetics of it all. All of a sudden I have a new collection screaming at me and I'm like, I just have to go do it. And I like just like do the whole thing in a month, 2 months. That is like there when you ask what a typical day in the atelier is, it's either I'm going there to like play, which I think is really important for artists to not have any pressure. Like, no, there is some stuff no one will ever see. And I think that that's important because it takes the pressure off of like a blank canvas when you're like, I need to make this and it needs to sell. That's helping nobody in the situation. You don't help yourself. You make shitty art. And to be honest, like I think people can just tell when you're trying to like make something to sell. And I think we've all kind of seen it on Instagram. So I try to give myself a lot of freedom in the atelier. And if I'm not at the atelier, I'm normally wanting to paint outside. There's something about like just kind of being more free with it. So the country home, that will be the next steps.
Yeah, definitely. Get on that country home.
or to build an artist residency for other artists that just like want to be barefoot painting in the sun. But also
so good.
Yeah, but also want to live in Paris. There's like such a juxtaposition.
I mean, I think that's a lot of people's dream life, though, because we all like to leave the city as much as we like to be here, because it can be really draining being here. I mean, we need nature, but also
Yeah.
Paris has so many great things. So, yeah, I think you have the right idea. Just keep at it. So, your work involves a lot of layering, scraping, and mark making. What attracted you to that physical process?
I feel like my process came out of playing. And when I was in artist residency, I kind of just let myself go for it in the first month. Like, when else have I been able to focus for 2 months on making whatever I want? And it was a lot of experimentation and first observing kind of the world around me, whether it's energy or an actual subject. There are a lot of subjects hidden in my work. But my process kind of starts in the beginning, it started with really crazy, colorful paintings. And then I would layer on these like sheets of like glazes of plaster, if you will, but they were very matte and like you want to touch them. But it was almost like I was like covering up this colorful, crazy energy on the canvas. And I think that was just a time in my life. And then when I came into residency, I was like, what if we didn't put white over this and really made this a finished painting underneath, as one could say. But I always start with a big, like either blue or red, like the whole canvas. I'm like, what color am I feeling? What emotion or what am I trying to represent? And then the layering starts coming with different textures. So another artist, Caitlin Kramer, shout out, she introduced me to oil sticks because I was using oil pastels, and oil pastels never dry on top of, I start with an acrylic layer. Sometimes then I go in with oil and then charcoal and start making all these scrapes and marks. And some of the last touches to like really bring the pigment in, I would do oil pastel. And it was a pain in the ass because it would got on everything and it would smudge and you had to spray it with this fix. I swear like 20 times, like I had just like spray cans of this shit and like probably inhaling it. And she's like, hey, I discovered oil sticks. They dry. They're like oil paint. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's an oil, works like an oil pastel, but dries like oil paint. And that like really changed my practice for the final marks on the canvas. So even I have art reps right now with a company called the Thomas Atelier. And anytime I'm showing them work in process, they're like, yeah, but have you put your marks on it yet? Like, have you put the the stick. And I was like, no, not yet. Like, I'm not ready. But like, they know that like, that's my final
touch.
part. Yeah, which is kind of cool, which I'd say like and the artist is like you always kind of are developing your style and like I have boxes and boxes now of oil stick because it's even if it's a watercolor like sometimes I just put like one little like swatch on top. It just like there's something about it that's like I'm like and then it's done.
Yeah, it's like you're defining style, people
Yeah.
know it's yours. And is it like, how do you know when a painting's finished?
I know when a painting is finished, sometimes very obviously, where I'm like, it's perfect. Like I step back and I'm like, there's nothing more to be done. Like everything's talking to each other. It's in balance. Whether it's a subject or abstract, it's just done. And it means that I like it. And there's some art that I don't like and I don't feel comfortable sharing it or selling it because if I don't like it, it means it's not done and I will roll it up or put it away and take it out maybe a month or two later, or sometimes a year later. For instance, this huge abstract that I just sent to the US, I had rolled up for like a year and I was like, it's just not done. And my reps were like, oh, this is my favorite. We love it. It reminds me of these like big jewels. And I was like, no, it's not done. And they're like, okay, well, can it be done soon? Like, and I'm like, yeah, like just let me live with it for a bit. And then I started to put some more final marks on. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I love this painting. So like it can take just a break from it sometimes to understand what else has to go on it. Which isn't ideal like monetarily because it's like you don't want to sit on like paintings for like 2 years.
They're like, just hand it over already.
Yeah. Like, come on, it looks good enough. I'm like, no, like so a painting is done when I love it.
I like
That's
that.
it.
Yeah, no, that's how it should be. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you talk a little bit about this, like how has representation changed your career?
Before I left San Francisco, in the middle of my breakup and life falling apart, I secured my first art rep through Fine Leaf, and she is located in Vermont. So I grew up in New England, and my mom knew her and was like, she was always, an artist and on the horizon, like, oh, my friend Joan. And I'm like, yeah, mom, like your friend Joan, I'm an artist. Like, you don't know. And then I got introduced to her and I did fit into her catalog quite well as like a more large abstract artist. So I actually secured my first rep in 2023. Maybe monetarily, it's not like you sign with a rep and you're like, all right, let's just make art and dust your hands off and the end. The money flows in. It's like you still have to do the work and promote yourself. But what having my first rep did was give me meaning and confidence. And even though that sounds maybe kind of egotistical, I don't think ego is a bad thing. I think a healthy ego you need in art. And that kind of gave me that boost of confidence to say, I'm making art and I'm shipping it to someone to then sell to other people. And that like just made me feel like I took pictures of myself like signing my first representative contract because it just felt like such a turning point. And it was that the nugget that the universe gave me to say, you're on the right track. This is going to happen. It's going to work out. Like, I don't think you always need like such a huge sign, but I mean, come on. Like then it was kind of like, all right, we're doing this. Like we're doing it for real. Like it's not, I didn't wake up in the morning wondering, am I crazy? Is my art actually good? Like, should I actually do this?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to have someone like really back you and it be like
Yeah.
legitimized with paperwork.
Yeah, it legitimizes yourself. Like, and I think like a smaller version of that is like, even when I started creating my own Instagram account dedicated to art, it was a tiny step of being like, hello, I'm here. And this is off of my personal page. And like, if you like art, follow it. And it was like, that's another energetic that I feel like you as an artist can put out there to be like, I'm taking this seriously. And when you take yourself seriously, and keep showing up, other people take you seriously. So
Yeah.
about a year after that, I signed with her. And since then, because I've moved to France, it didn't make a lot of sense to there was like, it's just kind of, there's some friction to send a lot to the US and to keep up with inventory. And so since then, I was represented by a gallery Antibes, France. So that I don't even know what order it happened in, but once I also came to France and said like, okay, I'm going to residency, then I got two galleries showing my work. One in California, Gallery Ram, which is an amazing gallery outside of LA, and then one in Antibes, France. And then that gave me another boost of being like, well, now I have galleries. Like it's just like little steps.
Yeah, I think we all need those little confident boosts, no matter what we're doing, whether it's like a normal job or whatever you do. Like it's just we don't always believe in ourselves, so we mostly don't believe in ourselves. So yeah, these
Yeah.
little like breadcrumbs of help, it's like, oh, I am legit.
Yeah, that's the perfect way of saying it. It's breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Even though I'm gluten free, I'll go by it.
And what do people commonly like misunderstand about the life of a professional artist?
That it's amazing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm living my dream, but I think even me from the outside, I remember looking at artists who were full time when I was in the corporate world, and I'd be like, oh, your life looks amazing. You just get to like wake up and have coffee and paint and like, ugh, I'm like jealous. Like I'd be kind of like it totally showed my shadow self where I was like, I want to do that. That looks amazing. And now that I'm in it, it is amazing 70% of the time. And the other part looks like sometimes carrying huge canvases down the street, bringing them up 7 flights of stairs, figuring out shipping, customs. Don't get me started on expenses. I have a shoebox of crumpled receipts that I need to go through. Like you're doing everything. You're the artist, you're the marketing, advertising team, you're the finance team, you're the PR team, and you're the outreach team. So like I do like to socialize, but like you just have to be very present sometimes and say like I'm an artist, and like then everyone like you people are intrigued. And I'd say the part that people miss is that it is full-time job. It is less romantic than painting by the sea, and like these little snippets. And of course I share those like on Instagram, and I was writing like a little newsletter for a while, and guess what? The newsletter just suddenly stopped because why did I think I had time to write a newsletter once a week?
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I'd say having reps does help because you can check in with a trusted source, and having friends who are also doing the same thing, artist friends, have saved me. They make you feel sane. They understand all of the pain points. That didn't really answer your question, did it?
No, it definitely did. It answered it way a lot. And I think it's important people think about these things because I mean, I imagine when you tell people like I'm a full-time artist living in France, they're like, "Oh my God, I hate you." Like but like you said, it's hard. It's a lot of work. Like any creative business, it's a lot of work. It's not just making our art, it's wearing all of those hats.
Yeah, and actually, now that you say you're like, yeah, you're an artist that lives in France, I'm like, yeah, and guess what? I don't speak French. So imagine I've shown my work at like the Antibes Art Fair, and people are like, oh, bonjour, and I'm like, American, I don't speak French. And like people are very receptive, but like there's another like, yeah, when I decided to do this, I really doing it in a foreign country and in France, and the French admin system. I mean,
It's challenging.
yeah, I could have taken an easier path, but like YOLO, right?
I think that, I mean, I was reading about this the other day, that France is very special in that it completely tears you apart so that all that is left is what you really are. And I think whether you're an artist or, just an expat doing a different business career here, I mean, it's gonna tear you a new one. But if you stick around, you might discover some pretty cool stuff about yourself.
I am gonna need that quote later.
Well, listen to the podcast.
Well, yeah, oh my God, yeah, I'll be.
Well, I always like to end with a beautiful note about creativity. So if you could leave listeners with one message about creativity, what would it be?
Oh, learn to let go and make mistakes, because anything that's being made and anything creative, it's not creative if it's already been done. Like, so you're gonna have to make mistakes. There are things that people, if you haven't done it before, how can you not make mistakes? And I think really, really encouraging yourself to fuck up and continue anyway. And you get better at picking yourself back up. And then all of a sudden, like a huge creative breakthrough happens, right? You look at any inventor, artist, writer, like, how does that happen? We didn't see the messy part of it, which I sometimes wish. I just want documentaries about everyone's fuck ups. Like, and that is like the beauty of creativity.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have to fail forward, and it's all part of the fun, guys. Don't be afraid to fail. And where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
I live mostly on Instagram right now. I would love to have time for a TikTok, but no. So Instagram at Rebekah MacKay Art. And I also have an illustration studio called Drawnsomewhere, which also has an Instagram at drawnsomewhere. And I do workshops, live painting events, and I'm going to have a show in Paris on June 25th in the second. And it's a dedication to my love for Paris. So it's called Loved Places in Paris, Drawn Somewhere by Rebekah MacKay. And it's kind of me stepping out in this hybrid of fine art and illustration and commercial art. So if you're in Paris, come say hi, please.
Fantastic. Well, we'll share all of that in the show notes. And thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.